The San Francisco 49ers pull off a 36-24 victory here in Week 6, Thursday night football game, divisional game against Seattle. And guess what? Last week we were talking about them collapsing. This week we're talking about them being the number one team in the division currently after this win. First conference win. It was a major one, and it was one really that this team needed. Let's break it down. You look at the first half. The 49ers, like always, or really like they've done all season, they've gotten out to a fast start. You have a couple of field goals. San Francisco has a 23-3 lead early in the third quarter after a touchdown, and it seems like things are cruising. But again, as the 49ers have seen this season, they face adversity, right? One, they struggle in the red zone once again. They had 2 trips in the red zone in the first half, went 0 for 2, kicked 2 field goals, had another drive that ended at the Seattle 23, kicked another field goal there. So you had 3 different opportunities to score touchdowns. The one that San Francisco actually did score a touchdown on in the first half, well, that was a 76-yard touchdown pass to Deebo Samuel. It wasn't anywhere near the red zone, and that was the way San Francisco was able to score by generating a major explosive. You look in the second half, though, there was a change, in multiple ways. One, San Francisco, they get out to a 23-3 lead. They get their first red zone touchdown of the game. And it was something that they did a lot differently. Targeted George Kittle. Kittle has been one of the most efficient red zone targets in the NFL this year. Entering this game, he had 8 catches on 9 targets. The one target was the drop last week that ended up not resulting in a touchdown. But thus far, he's been really strong. That continued this game. He had 2 red zone targets, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches. I mean, it's as efficient as you can get. He's now up to 10 catches on 11 targets for 5 touchdowns this year in the red zone. So the 49ers clearly knew they needed to attack that matchup. Even if he's getting double teamed, you have to make good throws. Kittle, though, on this one, it was a great throw and catch from Kittle to stay in bounds as he's near the sidelines getting the ball. San Francisco goes up 23-3. But then the adversity starts to hit once again. You see the Seattle Seahawks coming back. They get some momentum. They bring this ball game back really to 23-17. They get multiple touchdown drives consecutively, and that leads to a pretty close ball game that this one was, and that's essentially how this one was kind of going to end up going about. And the San Francisco 49ers, they needed to switch because when you look at last week, when you look at week 3 against the Rams, when their backs were against the walls, they struggled. They truly did. But in this one, they end up pulling off the victory. You got the touchdown drive late, and then Isaac Orendo and Kyle Juszczyk clear out the last touchdown drive to essentially put the game away. You end up winning 36-24 after Seattle scores the touchdown drive of their own. And this is a good win. This is a win that the San Francisco 49ers will definitely take. It was one they needed. Let's talk about some of the top players because defensively, this was a great performance from San Francisco. You lose Charvarius Ward. You're already banged up a bit on that side with Talanoa Hufanga hitting IR. And so there needed to be a couple of players that stepped up. You look at the top players played really well. Nick Bosa had 14 pressures in a game, his highest, I think, in a couple of years, when he also had 14, a couple of years ago. That's one of the biggest outputs, according to Next Gen Stats, in the NFL history. You look elsewhere, Fred Warner, 11 tackles. He almost had a pick at the end. Instead, that ended up being a PBU. He's a guy who was around the ball, constantly making plays, attacking downhill. Another good player on the day. And then you got to look at the rookies. Malik Mustafa gets the first interception. He's in a good position. A ball overthrown by Geno Smith deep in San Francisco's territory. Then later on, Renardo Green gets an interception. He had a really solid day overall in coverage. The 49ers secondary held DK Metcalf to just 3 catches for 48 yards on 11 targets. It was clear that he was going to be a part of the game plan without Charvarius Ward. And guess what? Seattle was not able to get that part done. You shut down the run game completely. Kenneth Walker that is, only had 32 rushing yards, 14 attempts. You're averaging way under 3 yards a carry. And so they made him one-dimensional. And that forced, Seattle to try a couple of different things. They weren't efficient enough, not close to it in the passing game. And they end up losing this one. They're going to drop now to number 2 in the division as the 49ers climb to 3-3. Offensively, Brock Purdy had a pretty solid game. They're, the normal. A couple of mistakes that you probably want back, but ultimately efficient enough. 255 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. You targeted downfield, and you overcame the red zone struggles with 2 really nice touchdown throws to George Kittle in the second half. Run game-wise, Jordan Mason is the focus. He suffered a AC joint sprain. That's going to be something to watch. But without him, the Niners really went more pass-happy. Mason had really done well in the first half. After that, go pass happy until Isaac Guerrero broke the 76-yard play that ended up resulting in the Niners' final touchdown. So a lot of positives coming out of this one. Still, obviously, a lot of things to work on as well as a lot of injury issues. But nonetheless, the Niners needed to win. They got to win, and they got it by double digits.